Om Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. Okay. Goodness, anybody have any questions, arguments, complaints, or comments about the gunas? The idea?
What about a person which is fully tamasic? Can this person have dreams?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Because sattva is always there in this life.
Yeah, everybody's got sattva, rajas, and tamas to some degree. A tamasic person will have tamasic dreams.
I was thinking it's fully black and you don't see anything.
Pardon?
I was thinking it's fully black, dark.
No. No. Tamasic people have rajas too. But we're talking a guna predominantly. You don't want to think of yourself as being rajasic, tamasic, or sattvic. Why is that? Because you're identifying yourself with the guna. Huh? As people say, oh, I'm tamasic, or I'm rajasic, or I'm sattvic. Is that true? No, it's not true. The I, awareness, is trigunatita. Atita means beyond the gunas. It means it's other than the gunas. It's the witness of the gunas. It's what witnesses the gunas. See, the teaching is the same teaching as the three states, isn't it? What is the witness of the three states? Awareness. What's the witness of the three gunas? Awareness. Right? Now,
then you can see as a self if there is, for example, there's the rajas coming, and then you feel, oh, there's something that want to act.
yeah.
And then you can say, okay, I'm awareness.
Yeah.
And then you can check if it's okay to act.
Well, yeah.
Or if you went away.
Well, it will. I mean, the way you manage the guna, I was talking, you manage the gunas by changing your habits. But you can also, if you're a sannyasi or have a high degree of sattva, you can manage the gunas simply by turning your attention on awareness. Now, the second part of this guna teaching is not about transforming your mind. It's about separating awareness from the guna. Now, with the guna knowledge, you don't have to worry about any other object. If you're looking at the body and the mind and the breath and the thoughts and the feelings and all these things and trying to separate the self from those, yes, you can do that. But why not just take the global approach? Since all of the physical and psychological manifestations are nothing but gunas anyway, why not just discriminate yourself from your state of mind, from your experience? In other words, that's a direct path to moksha. With guna knowledge, you have the direct path to the self. Because all you do is separate the awareness, the consciousness, from the guna. Because the awareness is free of the guna. This was an argument I had with Ingrid. Was it Ingrid? Yeah. That we have problems seeing the separation between awareness and experience. There's a difference between awareness and experience. the gunas are experience. Like if you take all three gunas, they fit in the category of experience. Experience is the basic category, and then the three gunas are the next, and then below that are all the different manifestations of the gunas, all the way out to physical objects, where there are various combinations and permutations of gunas all the way out here, in the outer, further out, away from the self. Not that there's anything away from the self, but apparently, I'm using this language just figuratively now. So, if I want to be free, all I have to do is see, because what is moksha? Freedom from dependence on objects. Remember, that's where we started. The first day we defined moksha as freedom from dependence on objects. Now, is experience an object? Yeah. And I'm not trying to get free of objects. I'm already free of objects. I just need to recognize what part of me, not that it's a part, but we'll just call it a part, what part of me it doesn't change or modify, is impervious, is unaffected by experience. Because everybody knows the self. Why? Why do you know? Why do we say you know the self? Everybody knows the self. It's that part of you that doesn't change. You know very well that part that's been there when you were a child, who's watching your child body, and who's watching your young adult body, and who's watching your adult body, and is in life, and watching your middle-aged body, and then watching your old age body. It's the same awareness that's illuminating the child that's illuminating the old dying person. That part's always present in everybody all the time, at every minute. It's never away from you. So you know very well what that part is. So all we're trying to do is like identify that as myself. Even though I know that part, I think it's something other than me. That's the problem. I met a woman one time from Sri Lanka, and she was a yogi. She was one of the very most advanced yogis probably in the world. And she had many cities and could travel to all these different lokas and dimensions. And she had great knowledge of everything in Maya. And not just the material. She was totally uninterested in the material world. But she knew all about the subtle world, the world of the devas, and the world of and all the different worlds and lokas of experience. She had traveled to so many different places in her meditation. She was a great meditator. She started meditating spontaneously when she was 15, and she didn't even know what was happening. But suddenly her mind just turned inward. And so one day she came to me and she said, you know, Ram, wherever I go, she meant inwardly, not outwardly. It's true outwardly too, but so wherever I go inwardly, there's something watching me. See, she was identified with the subtle body. And the subtle body is the traveler. It was traveling to all these different dimensions and lokas, having all these various experiences. Siddha loka and various lokas. There's a whole dimension inside ourselves where there's rich, rich experience, inner world of experience that's available to people with a certain kind of mind. most of us are just in the outer world. We're extroverts, and we're just want to journey around in the world of people and objects for our experience. But some people are very subtle, and they live in the inner world, the subjective world. And Deva Loka and Pritri Loka, there's all these different dimensions of experience that you can't see with your physical eyes and experience with your physical body, but you can experience with your subtle body. And she said, wherever I go, there's something watching me. Well, she said, what is that? And I taught her, I told her that's the self. And then I spent about 15 minutes at teaching her what the self, telling her about the self. And I told her that's you. See, she was looking at the self as an object. We call that indirect knowledge. If you see the self as an object, like when you say the self, what does that say about you? That says that you're something other than the self, doesn't it? If you use the word the self, it implies that I'm here and the self is there. It implies a separation or a distance between myself and the self. And that was how she perceived herself, as an object watching her. As an awareness, a light. It was like a light. It's a light. They call it the light of awareness. It's always watching everything you're doing, all the time. It's never unaware of what you're thinking and what you're feeling and what actions you're doing. It's always present, watching, watching, watching. And she saw it as an object. She said, what is that? Because she was so sattvic that it reflected in her mind as an object. So I taught her about the self. I spent about 15 minutes or 20 minutes talking about it. And then she went away. And then I think about 3 weeks later, I was sitting in my room, and I felt this presence of a Mahatma. It's like a enlightened person. And I looked up, and there she was standing in the doorway. And she was just radiant, like there was great aura all around her. And she looked at me and she said, I am the self. My sadhana is finished. So she had, for 3 weeks, contemplated on that and taken that teaching, that knowledge, and then she realized that that was her. And the shift from the object appearing in awareness suddenly shifted, and she was the awareness in which the object, her subtle body, appeared. Brought about by what? Contemplation or knowledge. And then she said, then the knowledge, she said, what is that that's always watching me? That's indirect knowledge. And then she said, I am the self. That's direct knowledge. So, now you can say that. You don't have to have that shift. In fact, if you say that and contemplate on that, that will produce a shift. Now, it's not an experiential shift, but it is an experiential shift. It is, but it isn't. It's not like a normal experience. It's a recognition that shifts your attention, right, from the object to the subject. See, normally when we talk about the self, Vedanta uses both direct and indirect knowledge. When I say the self, it assumes that it's something other than me, and that it's something we're going to realize, something we're going to gain, something we're going to experience, or something we're going to know. When we speak of it that way, that's called indirect knowledge. And contemplation, once you've had this teaching, once you've exposed your mind to this teaching for a period of time, then, and you got the knowledge, then by contemplating on that knowledge carefully, that indirect knowledge is converted to direct knowledge by your contemplation, by the application of knowledge to your mind. You can't make the shift by doing any action. Now you could say contemplation is an action. But this is the argument the experience-oriented people say. Because when we say, well, you can't gain moksha by doing an action, they say, well, how can you gain moksha? We say by inquiry, by contemplation. And they say, well, inquiry or contemplation is an action. Well, yes, it is. If it's active, it's an action. It's an act of mind. But the result of contemplation is different from the result of action. Huh? Why? Because contemplation results in knowledge which destroys action. Whereas action results in experience which what? Reproduces action. In other words, it keeps you stuck in the experiential world. Understand? This is why we need to get the knowledge, get clear about it. Because once that knowledge is firm and steady and that vision of non-duality has been established in your mind, then every circumstance becomes what? A sadhana, an opportunity to what? For understanding, for realization. And at some point that shift takes place naturally as you destroy the ignorance by applying the knowledge. People say, well, what are you doing? Well, I'm doing self-inquiry. And I said, well, what self-inquiry are you doing? I said, well, I'm asking, who am I? That was a method that Papaji used to teach people. Asking, who am I? Now, that's a very strange question to ask, isn't it? Isn't it? Why is that a weird question to ask? Because we already know the answer, don't we? Huh? Do you have any doubt about who you are? If you do have any doubt, then I can help you remove that doubt right now. I can tell you who you are. You're what? Limitless, ordinary, ever-present, non-dual awareness. That's who you are. So there's nothing to ask here. There's no question to be asked here as far as who you are is concerned. This is why that technique, nobody really does it anymore. It was just silly. But, yes? He said what?
In the Osho tradition, Bhagwan tradition, they do this very, very often.
They ask that question, who am? Who what?
Who is in? It means the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Who am I?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they do this a lot.
Yeah, and because what do they expect an answer? Huh? I suppose they expect an answer to come from what? Deep within. I suppose God is supposed to show up and say, you are pure consciousness. I don't know what they or they expect some experience to happen that's going to, no?
No, two people in front, and who is in the one asked, and the other said, I am Mr. Or I am this, I'm that, and then for hours, no? Until the point you don't say anything more because you have all said what you can, what is in your mind about yourself.
You can see that
You
you are
empty
not the
yourself.
name, not your job, not all these things. This is
That is the teaching, no? That you can layer for layer you give out, and then at the end the question stays. Who is in? And then you say nothing, and this
Well, and so
stillness is then the answer.
oh, the stillness is the answer. Oh, right, that's right. That is a notion. This is it. You know, when the mind gets still and quiet, the silence. This is it. Huh? Yeah, I get it. Get it now. This is it. Did you get it? This is it. Huh? What's wrong with you? You're not getting it. No, this is not it. It is the one that knows that there's something to get. When you're asking the question, awareness is watching you ask the question, isn't it? You can't ask the question unless you're it. How could you ask the question unless you're awareness? Understand? Now, if you don't understand that you're awareness, then you have to fake it till you do. Huh? We call, huh? Then you have to pretend that you're awareness. Now, why should you have to pretend that you're awareness when you are awareness? Why should you have to do that? That's a strange thing, isn't it? Well, because you don't believe you are awareness, you think you're somebody else, don't you? You think you're something other than awareness. So you have to pretend that you're awareness. Now that's a weird thing to do. We call it faking it till you make it. But it works. That's what we call taking a stand in awareness. Instead of taking a stand in I don't know, which is if I'm asking a question, I'm taking a stand in I don't know that I'm awareness, aren't I? That's where I'm situated. I believe that I don't know that I'm awareness. I couldn't even have that belief that I don't know unless I was awareness, could I? I have to be aware to have that belief. But I think awareness is something other than me. See? I think awareness is awareness, wherever awareness is. I think it's transcendental or beyond or somewhere else or hidden in the cave of the heart. In the cave of the heart. Go inside, look around. There it is, hiding in the heart. Deep in the heart, there's a little tiny light shining in the darkness of the cave. Go there, experience that. That's you. And it feels weird to say I'm awareness, doesn't it? Now that's actually a statement of fact. If you're speeding on the highway, and a policeman stops you and he said, "Who are you?" and you say, "I'm awareness." No,
And the body.
that's the truth, right? The truth is I'm awareness, but that's not going to work. Hey, in the world, you've got to tell him what your name is and show him your driver's license. And you've got to pretend that you're something other than what you are, don't you? Because in this world, they're living in the dark. This whole world, everybody's in the darkness. And they've got it just backwards. They think you're something other than, and there's part of you that thinks you're this person too. You don't realize you're just pretending to be your awareness, pretending to be this person. You don't realize you're just faking it. When you say I'm Joe or Sally or Pete or whatever it is. So to get out of this problem, our recommendation is take a stand in awareness. assert yourself as awareness. Say, I'm awareness. You can say that with confidence. Why? Because it's the truth. Scripture tells you that. That's all Scripture is telling you. If you have a problem with Scripture, then there's something wrong with you, because all that Scripture's telling you is that you're beautiful, that you're limitless, that you're pure, that you're perfect, that you're whole. That's all we're telling you. The whole message of Vedanta is simply that. There's no statement in any of our scriptures that you're incomplete, that you're inadequate, that you're separate, that you're impure, that you're ugly. There's not one statement in any of our scriptures that says that you're a sinner. It never says that. Every statement is you are that. That means what? Luminous, non-dual, ever-present, ordinary, uncomplicated, unconcerned awareness. That's what it means. That. That word that's the meaning of that. So why not start thinking of myself as awareness? Oh, but sir, I don't feel like awareness. I don't feel like awareness. Well, okay, tell me, what does awareness feel like? Huh? Awareness doesn't feel like anything. Understand? Experience cannot verify your existence as awareness. Because experience can't experience awareness. Experience can only experience objects in Maya. Experience, you can't even experience the causal body. There's the whole cause of the universe, the unmanifest of the causal body, is beyond your experience. You can't even experience the causal body. All you can experience is the subtle body and the gross body. So experience is never going to validate awareness. It's not possible because, it's always behind experience. And experience is dumb. People are in love with experience. It's amazing how they fall in love with experience. And experience is as dumb as a loaf of bread. That's how, It's as dumb as a table or a chair. It can't tell you anything because it's just material energy. That's all it is. So knowledge tells you this, and knowledge happens to be the truth, because many people, millions of people over a long period of time have realized that they're awareness. That's why we have this tradition. That's why this tradition is alive today, because thousands and thousands of people maybe more, have realized that they're awareness. And they've contributed their energy or their knowledge to this tradition. Because that's what they know. And when in other words, you can't experience awareness as an object, but everything that you are experiencing is awareness. See? So we're not leaving experience out of it. Freedom means freedom from experience. In other words, the belief that I need to be experiencing something to be. It feels like that. It seems like that experience proves or justifies my existence, but it doesn't. my existence justifies experience. My existence means my awareness. Because awareness is Sat Chit Ananda. Awareness is Sat, it's what exists. It's your existence. Remember we talked about gravity and how gravity, you're feeling it all the time. You're under the influence of gravity all the time. It's the most obvious physical thing that there is, but what? But you're not aware of it at all. Even though it's all the time working on you. Well, what's the most obvious thing about you? What's the most obvious thing? That I exist. So is there anything more obvious? Do you need anybody, do you need me to tell you that you exist? Do you need a book to tell you that you exist? Huh? Is there any outside information required for that knowledge? No, that's correct. None. Zero. It's self-evident. Means it's obvious. That's why I get so irritated at these neos that they can't. They've either got to be totally stupid or they're playing some kind of clever game by saying they don't exist. What they mean is that this person that they think they are doesn't exist. But even that's not true. Because if to say that you don't exist means you exist as a person saying that you don't exist. So, isn't it? If a person says I don't exist, and he means I don't exist as a person, then if he doesn't exist as a person, then how's he going to tell you that he doesn't exist as a person? Huh?
It's a thought. It's not a person, it's a thought.
It's a thought, but a thought isn't telling me. A person is telling me, using the thought to communicate. The thought won't be telling me anything because thoughts are what? They're inert. They're insentient. They have no consciousness, so they're not sentient. So a person is using that thought to communicate. See, but they don't want, they're so caught up in this notion that they don't exist that they have to use statements like it's a thought. Well, but again, you do a little analysis on that and you can see that thoughts aren't saying anything. Thoughts are dumb as anything. Thoughts are just what? Energy, inert material energy that's appearing in awareness for a short period of time. Awareness has to inform that thought and use that thought to turn it into language to communicate. And when it does that, it appears as a person. So the person exists. There's no such thing as non-existence. Anytime you say anything, it exists. Understand? To say that there is non-existence means what? That brings non-existence into existence, doesn't it? In other words, the existence in non-existence is what? Is awareness. So there is no emptiness or non-existence. By emptiness, what do we mean? Generally is meant that objects don't have any substance. That when you investigate an object, then it shows that the object, the form, right, isn't actually substantial. It's just an appearance. That's what emptiness actually means. But when you examine the form, what do you find? Awareness. So even Shankar says, and Vedanta says, even the physical objects are awareness. Can't be. There's no other option because everything's awareness. And so if there's something that's experienced, it's got to be awareness. No problem, no opportunity for there to be anything but awareness or consciousness. What should we do? What should we talk? Anybody have any questions? Or should we just sit in the silence and enjoy? So you meditate with your eyes open. Can you feel the shanti? Feel the peace? Feel the silence? The silence is not it. The one that knows the silence is it. Because when the silence is not here, I'm still here, aware of what? The absence of silence. In the absence of objects, awareness is aware of awareness. And in the presence of objects, awareness is aware of objects as awareness. That's knowledge. Awareness knows that the objects that it's aware of is nothing but itself. In other words, everything's me. Now think of that. Think of the utility. Think of the importance of that knowledge. What kind of practical importance does that knowledge have for a jiva living in this world? A jiva that knows that. It means it basically eliminate all your conflicts with reality. Why? Because you only have conflicts with things other than yourself. You only have conflicts with the other. You never have conflicts with yourself. You love yourself. You don't injure yourself, you injure others. If you injure yourself, it's only because you have got confused and you think yourself is something other than you. But you only injure something other than you. You're trying to protect yourself all the time because you love yourself so much. You don't want to suffer any kind of pain. So when I understand that it's all me, and because I love myself so much, I love all my forms. I love everybody I meet. Everybody I see, I love. Because it's me. Me masquerading or pretending to be something other than me. The objects think there's something other than me, but I don't see the objects as separate from me. I see them as me. So I love them just the same as I love myself. So I don't have a problem. I got less than a problem. I've got an amazing life. When you understand this, you have an amazing life. You cannot believe how fabulous a life you can have when you just understand that everybody's you and you love everybody as you love your own self. You can't believe it. Because the whole world loves you back. Because by you loving the object, the person, it awakens the love in that person, and then they see the love in you, they see themselves in you, and suddenly there's a beautiful, beautiful connection going on there. And you have a friend for life, yourself, in that other person. When you fall in love with someone, you don't fall in love with that person. You fall in love with yourself. You're never falling in love with a person, because there's no person. There's an apparent person, in which a self is existing. Behind the facade, behind the shadow that we call this person, there's this luminous awareness. When you fall in love, you look through that shadow and you see the light shining behind it. You see people falling in love with real useless people all the time. Fall in love with criminals and druggies and all sorts of things. And when you ask them, why do you love that person? You know what they say? He's so beautiful. She's so beautiful. And actually, the person's ugly as sin. but they don't see that. When the young boy kills 6 people, and they get him they catch him, and they bring him into the court, and he's just, witnesses were there. He brutally murdered 6 people, and the defense attorney gets the mother of the boy on the stand and the mother says, "My little Johnny? Why, he wouldn't hurt a flea. He's the most beautiful, wonderful little kid. You've got it all wrong. You must have it wrong." She said, "I don't understand what you're doing here. How can you say that about my son? He is just totally beautiful." Yeah, he is, because she sees right through all of his stuff. She sees that beautiful being inside. She sees herself shining there. And he would never hurt his mother. He's got a tattoo that says Mom. Huh? He loves his mom. He'll kill everybody else, but his mom, he sees right through. In her, he sees himself shining. Don't ever say anything bad about his mom or he'll kill you. See the value of this knowledge. I mean, this knowledge is not for any other reason than to make your life happy. Huh? That's all it's about, is to give your jiva a happy life. Huh? There's no other reason for this. We're not trying to get some big status. I'm going to realize the highest, most important thing, and then I'll be an important person, and I'll be a great guru, and I'll be worshipped by millions. And it's not like that. This is just about making your little jiva happy here. Giving it a great field of consciousness in which to play. This is loving this person. And no matter what that person is, seeing that person is nothing but you, and loving that person unconditionally, and giving that person a lot of room to be what they are. Not judging that person. Not condemning that person, not criticizing that person, not looking down on that person, but seeing the beauty in that person, that beauty is just your own awareness reflected in that person that's stuck to you. Everybody, awareness has all these different bodies and minds stuck to it, connected to it. And awareness knows that it's just me. That's love. That's love. Love is, how do you relate love to awareness? What's the connection between love and awareness?
It's a synonym.
It's a synonym. Well, what's the connection to the objects? Your attention. If your awareness, how does that awareness get to the objects? Through your subtle body. It reflects off your subtle body, and then it shines on the objects. And what is the reflection of awareness in the subtle body but your attention? Your attention, what you're paying attention to, what you're seeing, what you're experiencing, is just awareness focused on an object. And that's love. We say it's willing attention. It's where you willingly put your love. Now, if I put a gun to your head and tell you pay attention to that, is that love? Well, no, it's not, but it is. Why? You pay attention to that because what you love yourself and you don't want to die, so you do what you're told. So there's even love in that particular kind of action. But never mind that. You are willingly or conscious. Why are you people listening to the Vedanta? Because you love the truth. Because yourself loves the truth. That's why you're paying attention. If you didn't love the truth, you would be paying attention to something else, video games, or who knows what you'd be doing. Making money, or I don't know, taking a trip, doing something else. But the fact is, consciousness, right, is paying attention to this teaching because it has a tremendous love for the truth. It wants to hear about itself. This is bhakti. This is love. There's no higher bhakti than the bhakti that you people have. People that are sitting here have right now. The bhakti for the truth, the love of the truth, the devotion to the truth that causes you to come here and make all these sacrifices and so forth and so on to be here, right, is just simply a testament to your love or your bhakti for the truth, for yourself. Because all we're talking about is you. Understand? People have this big argument about Vedanta being intellectual. It's all intellectual, Ram. There's no love in this. It's just ideas. You're just always talking all the time. Well, it's true, we do talk a lot, but every word is what? Soaked in love. And every word is an act of love. This teaching is an act of love. Every word, every teaching. What greater love is there than the removal of ignorance, the removal of suffering? You're not going to, you're not going to like rise into, transcend suffering like Christ did 3 days and then rise out of the body off. I don't know what he did. What resurrection? That's a fantasy. You're going to transcend is what? Transcend means what? Understand that your nature is love. You're already love. That's who you are. Parama prema swarupaha. The self is parama, limitless, prema, non-dual love, of the nature of non-dual love. Because there's no otherness there. That's what love is. No otherness. I see myself in you. And I see you in myself. Yes.
Is the space like the self like space where objects appear in?
Yes. Yeah, space is like one of the most helpful metaphors for understanding awareness. It has a number of similar attributes. One is that it accommodates everything. And two is that it's not contaminated by anything that's in it. Right? Like the room, this is space in this room. And now we come in this room and our bodies are in this room. And has space been disturbed by that? When you leave the room, that the space is exactly the same. And while you're in the room occupying space, space hasn't been changed either, has it? It permeates your whole body. Huh? The only difference is what? Space doesn't know anything. It used to be, they used to call self space. In the 70s and 80s, that was a common word for it. And people actually thought space was the self. We have big argument in Vedanta about it. We just debunk that myth. It's old. It's thousands of years old. People thought that space was the self. It's a container. It accommodates everything, and it's uncontaminated by anything. And it's limitless. That's what limitless means. Limitless means it's not contaminated by experience or by what comes in touch with it.
But the self doesn't know, but recognize. Or,
What do you mean?
I mean, the self doesn't store knowledge.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't retain knowledge or no, it doesn't.
It just knows what is.
That's all. It just knows what is appearing in it, and that those appearances don't leave any traces in it. They don't. There's no. They don't. It's nirvasanaha. The self is nirvanaha, nirvasanaha. When a thought or a feeling appears in awareness and then disappears out of awareness, if you look at awareness, you'll see that the awareness hasn't been affected or changed by that thought or feeling. If you say, I'm going through a lot of changes, and people say that, they say, I'm going through a lot of changes, well, they've obviously got the wrong self, because the I doesn't go through a lot of changes. The subtle body goes through changes. So there the I has what? It's identified with the subtle body and says, I am going through these changes. It would be more correct for say, these changes are going through me. Because I'm like space. Change passes through me, but it doesn't affect me. I'm like a ghost. In fact, the feeling of being the self and enlightened is you feel like you're a ghost. It's like being in a different dimension, and nothing sticks to you. And you walk right, even if you're in a crowded room or any place with a lot of people, you see everybody, but they don't see you. They're all looking around at objects and chatting with each other, and you're standing there, and they have no idea who you are. It's a very strange feeling. And you realize how alone you are. Not lonely. Mind you don't feel lonely. You just realize how alone you really are. How all one you really are. How there, understand. People are afraid of that aloneness. But even when you're when you think you're a jiva, you're all alone, aren't you? And you're in a relationship that you never really know what's going on in the other person, and they never really know what's going on in you. Even in the throes of passion, you're still just yourself, you're just alone. Your body and mind are making all these noises and movements and all that sort of this and that. And you're just sitting there watching, observing this phenomenon. I remember once I was making love with this woman, and the presence of my presence was so overpowering, I just started laughing. That was not the right thing to do. But it was funny. It was really funny to watch these two bodies, my body and her body, going through all of this motions. Because it didn't feel like it had anything to do with me at all. I was like totally disconnected from it, just observing it. And these bodies saying and these making these noises and all this stuff as if it was real, as if something was really happening there. And I laughed, and that ruined that. And I couldn't explain why I was laughing, because she wouldn't understand, because she thought I was this person, this body. That's what freedom means. Your freedom means you're free of that. You're alone, all one. That's your experience. Look at your experience. Isn't that right? There may be part of you that's always craving for connection. There is a part that always craving for appreciation and for meaning and for love and so forth, and trying to connect to objects. But the very fact that you're trying to connect to objects means that you're not connected. And it's just better to accept the non-connectedness of yourself to everything. And revel and enjoy that aloneness, that oneness. People are frightened of that oneness. It's scary. They think it's scary. But it's not scary. It's just full of bliss. It's just totally satisfying. To be free, know that nothing can touch you. And this overflowing of love, this Shakti, this overflowing of love into everything around you. Didn't Christ say, my cup runneth over, it says in the Bible. Using a beautiful example. So there's a cup, a chalice, and it's pouring so many, it's this subtle body, this person. The Lord is just pouring so much love and consciousness into that subtle body that it just keeps flowing over. It can't contain it. Yes, ma'am.
Chris, when Jesus said, nobody comes to God then through not me.
He says nobody comes to the Father except through the Son.
Yeah.
And how do you understand that?
You have to connect to this love, to integrate this love.
Mm-hmm. Can you talk more about
That's
that?
a very crucial point in Christianity.
Uh-huh.
And most people stick to that, I know. But if you see that, I don't know how you see this. How do you see this?
Well, I don't quite understand. Now, nobody comes to the Father but through the Son.
Yeah, that's
Okay, now what does the Son mean? Love. The Son means love. No, that's right. You never get to the self without love. Right? You have to, huh? You don't go anywhere without love. That's what we said earlier. That's why we said earlier today that there's no special path of love. It's not a special path as opposed to the path of action or the path of knowledge or the path of the eightfold path. It's not a special or different path. It's through love that you come to everything. If you don't have love, you won't get anywhere. It's love that takes you where you need to go. That's what's motivating every action that you do. Because love is the nature of yourself. And yourself must fulfill itself. When it appears here in the Maya world, it doesn't cease to be love. It apparently forgets what it is. But deep down inside of every jiva, this love is there, and this love is seeking to return to its source. It's pulling you back all the time.
Isn't that the same as saying nobody can get to the self except through the self?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Lift up yourself by the self alone, it says in the Bhagavad Gita. By yourself alone. Nobody can, because obviously if reality is non-dual, then the way to the self is through the self, and the destination is the self. That's the meaning of this mantra. Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavihi, Brahmagna Brahmanahutam, Brahmeva te nagantavyam, Brahma karma samadhina. It means it's all Brahman, it's all the self. The actions you do, the offerings you make, the fire in which you put the offerings, and the food, the result of the offering, and the result of all your karmas is nothing but you. There's a vision of non-duality. That's right. So you can't separate love and consciousness. Reality is non-dual, and there is such a thing as love, then it has to be consciousness. And if reality is non-dual and there has to be consciousness, then and there is love, then it has to be consciousness, and vice versa. There's no option. Because there's only one thing.
What about hate?
Hate is love passing through a tamasic subtle body. It's transformed, just like if you have electricity and you put it through a radio, it comes out as sound. If you put it through a light bulb, it comes out as light. If you put it through a heater, it comes out as heat. So if you put awareness through a tamasic mind, it comes out as hate. But it's just love transformed by the instrument into that hate, into that negativity. Everything here is love. There's nothing but awareness. Tomorrow in the morning we'll review. We'll go through the whole logic of the teaching from the beginning to the end. And you should try to keep this logic in your mind so you can see whenever you get stuck, how to get unstuck. try to read my book. If you haven't read my book, please read it.
Are these diagrams on your website?
Yes, the charts are on the website. And we have videos here. I have a bunch of videos. This particular seminar that we're doing is a shortened form of one called Self-Inquiry that I did in Berlin, I think about two or 3 years ago. And it's the same talk, but each topic is expanded. I think that was 8 or 10 days. That seminar was 10 days. So each one of these topics was expanded bigger. And if you're just new to this, then that's a good video to get. I think they're about 30 hours or 40 hours, a video for 60 euros. And there are other videos here. Those are also available on the website. If you're really serious about it and you want to continue on, there's a USB stick that has 110 hours of teaching. It has the self-inquiry video, the Bhagavad Gita video, it has Aparokshanubhuti and Vivekachudamani and Atma Bodh. So and I think that's 160 rupees. So it's €1.60 per hour. So we're not making money, let's put it that way. But that's a good one because that'll give you the whole thing. But if you're just not too sure about it, try that 60 euro one. I don't know why I lived in India so long that I think in rupees. I do it everywhere.
Not a good idea.
There's also, for those of you who are familiar with Atmananda's teachings, I've unfolded, I did in Berlin last year, I did I think 4 or 5 days, there's I think about 20 hours of talks on Atmananda's Atmanivritti and Atmadarshan. And they're very cool texts. It's pure Vedanta, but it's written it's in a slightly different style. And the language is, unless you're taught, you could easily misunderstand it. Atmananda was the inspiration for Greg Good and Francis Lucille, all of those people. So, and we got a website, obviously, those of you who haven't. Sign up for the newsletter. There's a button on the website, you can just sign up for the newsletter. We're going to start a little kind of course. It'll be this basic course. And every month, we'll take one topic. Next month, at the end of this month, it'll be the motivations. So I'll give a chapter of my new book there, and each month we'll put another chapter, and then there'll be satsangs about that topic and so forth. And what things we're doing, seminars and various things, new publications. We've got some really nice, 2 or 3 nice, 3 nice new publications coming out. It's Vedanta in really good, clean English. And my wife has just written one on diet, the gunas, diet, and Vedanta, which is a very nice book. And that will be finished in a month or so. So there's a lot of resource here. And if you just set aside an hour a day, and get your in that frame of mind, and just keep meditating, keep contemplating, keep studying. You can write us. I'm not writing satsangs right now, but almost every topic that every question that you have is covered on the website We have, I think, about 4,000 or 5,000 pages of personal satsangs that I have written and others have written, covering every conceivable topic. They're very good, very practical satsangs. And if you have a particular question, you can write. We have a list of people, that are realized people. My wife is one, and there are three young men. Great people, great guys, very brilliant, very bright, good writers, and they definitely know who they are. You can contact them with your questions, and they'll write satsangs for you too. So if you get stuck, it's and if anybody has a problem they can't solve, they just Skype me or call me or write me, and I try to see if I can't figure it out for them. So we're trying to give you a hand here, help you out with this as best we can, like that.
The seminar you talk about is running a while back.
Pardon?
You talk about a seminar.
Yeah.
I think a seminar.
Oh, we're going to have a web. I think
Once a month.
Yeah, once a month. I forgot about that. That's right. And I will make a webinar once a month on that topic, and then you can log in and ask your questions online, and I'll give the teaching like that, and we keep it on that topic, and then every month we'll do that. Sometimes we transmit these teachings as a webinar. We just did one in Spain. Done one in Spain in October, and we'll probably do one, this one in Amsterdam that's coming up. That's, I think, on the 24th or the 26th, 4th, 25th, something. I'll probably do a webinar out of that. So if you want to watch that, you can. I think it's a Saturday and Sunday, not this weekend, but the following weekend. So 2 weeks from, no, a week from this coming Saturday, we'll be doing one in Amsterdam. And I'll put that, I've got if I can get the equipment set up, it's rather tricky. And the last one we did in Spain, the transmission wasn't very good because we were way out in the mountains and the weather was kind of iffy, and so we didn't, it wasn't great. Part of it was really good and some of it was sketchy. But here in Amsterdam, there's plenty of bandwidth and a good internet connection, so we should be able to do a webinar. I'm going to teach Tattva Bodh there. I haven't taught that for a while. That's a really nice text. Again, it's all Vedanta, but it's structured a little differently, and it's a very nice text. It's very simple, very basic. It's not, they say it's a beginning text, but it's not really that beginning because it gets into Jiva and Ishvara quite in some detail. So like that.
And you're in Cologne.
Huh?
This weekend.
Yeah, this weekend, Cologne. That's right. That's right. Yeah, if you're around, if you got one, you probably had enough now. We've had 4 days. You're probably filled up. Huh? It's a lot. This is a very difficult. This is really unnatural. I mean, what you got here in 4 days would take in India would take you maybe a couple years to get in the traditional system. They just little by little give you, because they make you live a certain way of life. There's a certain lifestyle and certain duties, and you have to follow a certain way of life, because they don't like to give that knowledge to people who don't have a yogic style of life or a sattvic style of life. So they don't give you the whole thing so you can run off and think you're enlightened. They want to make sure that, because that's what happens here in the West. People get it, and then they just run off and they get so inspired and they get so happy, they want to teach everybody else. And it's good. I mean, it's a good impulse, but very often their lives are not all that pure and that holy and that settled, and they're not really good examples of the knowledge. The best teachers are those that live, that walk the talk and live the knowledge, that are really free, and they follow Dharma. Because when you realize who you are, you will not break Dharma. You will not go against your own nature, you will not go against the rules. There's this whole notion in the spiritual world that you're beyond the rules. They call it the crazy wisdom gurus. And those are gurus that are totally impure, full of rajas and tamas, and they use their idea of moksha to exploit you, to abuse you and use you in various things. And they say, and when you ask them, well, why are you behaving like this? They say, well, I'm beyond the rules. I'm awareness. I'm beyond all of that. And so the problem is you've got a problem. I'm not really the problem, you're a problem. You just don't understand clearly. So they blame it on you. They deny that they're the problem and they blame it on you. And most of the people that hang around those people don't have very high self-esteem, and so they what? They think there's something wrong with them. Whereas, you know, in the tradition, you have to live a certain kind of life. You can't just hand this knowledge out to everybody. And in a way, you know, I'm taking a chance because I'm just trusting you. And it's true. We really don't have any problems. Every year or two, somebody acts up and gets big when they think they're enlightened, but we just ignore them. And most everybody's humble and decent that gains moksha and goes on, and is a very big benefit to themselves and the world. So, like that. Oh, 6 o'clock. So time to quit, huh?
Perfect.
Perfect.